All right, we'll give this one more try. Anyways, hey guys, it's Chris Leo here. We're testing out Wirecast. Something's going on with it. We wanted to start doing some live streams, and so I figured I would use an article that I recently read on Inman, actually talking about the actual title was "How Real Estate is Reacting to Facebook's Data Scandal." Now, obviously, everybody's been talking about it. In fairness to the author of this article, Christy Murdoch Edgar, she wrote it about 3 or 4 weeks ago, so Zuck hadn't even gone to Capitol Hill yet to testify in front of Congress. And so giving her a pass on not, knowing the outcome of that and how hard, if at all, anybody was going to come down on Facebook. I have to say, it was kind of a doom and gloom article. I get it. Doom and gloom gets click-throughs and gets people to read. The interesting point, though, I did take exception with the article, but it had nothing to do with the fact that she was describing a data breach or how Facebook kind of skirted trying to pass the buck and not take responsibility and what a big deal it was, or even for that matter, if people were going to leave Facebook or not. What I took issue with were some quotes from people that she'd interviewed in the article talking about Facebook, and what really became clear to me was that these agents had no concept or ideas of, by and large, what the best practices are for marketing on Facebook to get leads. And as a result, their overall feelings were a little off. So I just thought, since we're testing out this equipment and we want to see how it works, I would just address a couple of things that I saw in the article that I took exception with, and it might be good pro tips for you guys, or at least food for thought to consider when you're evaluating how much you're going to put into your Facebook advertising, if you're going to stop it, if you're going to add more, etc. So the first agent that was interviewed or quoted in the article, she'd mentioned that she felt that Facebook was a way for people to hide and not actually talk. And on its face, I kind of agree with that. Obviously, social media, you've got two people on either sides, of a computer, and they don't necessarily even know each other, especially, when you're doing advertising and you're getting leads. So on the one side, I agree with what she's saying, but the way she put it was interesting to me. She mentioned that nobody ever clicks like on an ad and lists their home, and that's totally true. The problem is she's missing completely the point of Facebook. If you're going to do marketing, you get leads and you need to nurture those leads. So here's an example. Let's say you're doing a ad for, I don't know, let's just say it's a listing. Actually, no, let's just make it simpler. Let's do something that everybody does. Everybody does some form of get your homes evaluation, and then you follow up with those leads, right? So her point was that nobody's just going to click on that they like that ad or fill out the form to get a home valuation and instantly call me, and that's absolutely true. When you get those leads, you need to follow up with them. You need to put them into your CRM. You need to have a lead capture. You need to send them an immediate thank you email, possibly a text message. Maybe then you reach out to them. You reverse directory look up their phone number if they didn't include it in the capture form. And then you call them and offer to make a full, proper home valuation, explaining that online home valuations are great, but they're not as fantastic and perfect compared to what a realtor could do. So you'd be happy to present one to them. Maybe you decide to present it in person, so you just make it automatically, and then you just go knock on the door of the home. So those are the initial steps, and once you follow up with that person and you've done that, now you've got a little bit of a relationship that you're nurturing. So maybe then what you do is you send, maybe through Thankster.com or Bond.co, or maybe even elbow grease in your own handwriting, you send a little thank you card just following up with them. These are all things that you need to do. You can't just put an ad out there and think that somebody's just going to click on it and then instantly pick up the phone and call you. So I get it. Maybe her fear is that you're dealing with a bunch of anonymous people, and now there's these issues with these fake accounts and different ad campaigns. But But at the end of the day, it's still a very effective way for you to target specific homeowners in your marketplace. You can drop constant stream of educational material on them and really establish yourself as a thought leader in your neighborhood. But again, nothing in this world ever comes easy. It always requires a little bit of elbow grease. And part of that elbow grease is actually change. Facebook obviously has made lots of changes, especially recently, but even if you look over the last couple of years, there's been some very significant changes in the way that they handle their ads, the way their algorithm works, whether they prefer video over written content, over photos. I mean, you name it, there's always something going on. And in the article, in this Inman article that I read, there was another agent, actually not an agent, it was a guy that owns a listing aggregation company. And he had mentioned that he sees that maybe some people would leave the platform, but not necessarily because of the data breach, but because of the constant changes that are going on the platform. And while there have been, and I think everybody can agree, there are lots of changes, I think by and large, some of the changes actually will work to your benefit. And here's why. Take this last algorithm change that Facebook had. It's placing more importance on people that are engaging with your content versus people that are just skipping by. So in a lot of ways, they're kind of following the whole concept of content marketing on a much more strict playing field. So the more relevant your content is that you target to people, and these people that you're targeting should be your ideal real estate clients. So the more relevant that content you're making for your ideal real estate clients, and the more those people see and absorb that content, so they click that they like it, they comment on it, they share it with others, they click the call to action button and maybe fill out a contact form or a capture page or like your page as a result. All of those things, even the amount of time that maybe if it's a video that they watch it, all those things lead into this new algorithm. And I think people are scared of content marketing sometimes, agents especially, because it does take a little bit of time to develop that content. And you're working, all the jobs, right? You wear all the hats. You're an independent agent. You have to do everything. But it's time well spent. You will, again, start establishing yourself as a thought leader in your marketplace. The more that you can do that, the more you're going to be top of mind with a homeowner when they are finally ready to list their home. And so you're going to be one of the first people that they call for a listing appointment. So when looking at it, I think people just need to have a really honest conversation with themselves. If you find that you just have no time and you cannot develop the content or devote the attention and energy required to get it out there, you've got a couple of choices. You could hire out, say, like to a firm like ours or any other firm out there, and have them do it for you. Or you can just cut bait and admit that you don't have the time or desire to do it, and then focus on some other sort of marketing activity to help grow your real estate practice. But don't ever hang your hat on the fact that, oh shucks, the platform just keeps changing. It's unworkable, because you want to keep going. And Facebook is a massive ad platform, and it's time really well spent. The thing, though, in the end of the article that I really agree with, and something to caution, is that you have to remember that you don't control the platform, you don't own the platform. There was another gentleman from a financial real estate firm, I believe, that at the end of the article that was interviewed, and he had some really interesting thoughts. His team is going at it in a much more scientific manner. They have specific ad campaigns they're doing, not only for specific target groups, but for specific purposes. So, for instance, some are just purely for exposure. Some are to generate leads. Some are to target, I believe they're even targeting specific industry folk. So they've got a really defined level. Even with their, what I can assess from the article, very deep understanding of Facebook and the marketing platform itself, he said something very prudent, and I think it's something that everybody needs to really consider, and that's never put your eggs all in one basket. So here's the thing, if you're using your real estate business page as your brand, and that's how you're branding your entire everything in your real estate practice revolves around that, you run the risk of being really in trouble one day. And this isn't a knock on Facebook. This is any social media property out there. You definitely should look at them, be a part of the ones that make the most sense for who you want to target in the arenas that you're playing in. But you can't put all your eggs in those baskets, because either there could be a massive change, or it could go out of business, or it could get acquired by another company, and that new company completely screws it up, and people just flock away. Or a young gun comes out. I mean, take, not to date myself, but take MySpace. MySpace was everything, and then all of a sudden Facebook came out, and MySpace just started this precipitous drop. So really what you should be doing is obviously continue making content. Never stop making content, whether it's a blog article, whether it's doing a live stream Q&A, or just something you saw that's interesting that you want to teach people. My favorite, and this is a Gary Vaynerchuk thing. Gary V always says if you want to do content marketing and you can't figure out what to do, or you feel overwhelmed, it's one of those keep it simple, stupid. Just document your day, especially with realtors, because not every homeowner has a really good idea or clue of what a real estate agent does. So that puts you in a really interesting position, because you can educate them, which will make your job easier in the long run. Because if they have information in their mind that just isn't true about what realtors do, like I don't know, say for instance, real estate's so easy, all the agent does is just put the sign in the ground and the house is sold. I can't believe they make that much money for so little work. Things like that, the general misconceptions. You documenting your day in and day out of what you're doing. Little short video clips, maybe on Instagram stories or Facebook stories or Snapchat if you're using Snapchat. Taking photos, writing the occasional blog article. All those things will lead to you becoming the thought leader in your marketplace. All those things, though, you need to generate, and you need to have them revolve around your main web property, which should be your website. Then all you need to do is you use the appropriate social media channels to distribute that content and that information. And when I say appropriate, I really mean appropriate. It's not advised probably to send video links on Twitter, for instance, because if I'm in line at Starbucks and I've only got 2 seconds and I'm looking at my Twitter on my phone, I don't have time to watch a whole video. But what you could do is you could maybe tweet out about, hey, I just posted this great content on my YouTube channel, and it talks about X, Y, and Z. And then later in the day, I can say, oh yeah, I remember reading that, and so then I'll go to your YouTube channel, for instance. And obviously, so you want to cater to each group and what you think that they're willing to absorb on those platforms, and switch it up. So it does, require a little bit of thought, but you can strategize it and systematize it, that once you get it going, it'll always work for you. But absolutely, the one take home thing, never put all your eggs in any social media platforms basket. It's just not a wise business decision in the long run. So anyways, that's my nickel tour of this article. It was interesting. I think there's lots of things, that are going to still be coming out with Facebook as far as issues. But I definitely think that even though, like every platform out there, it's got problems, and I guarantee you it's not just Facebook that has data issues. Every single platform has data and security issues. So you have to be vigilant. You have to make sure you protect yourself, but don't use those as excuses not to market, and certainly don't use changes in their platforms as a reason to take your ball and go home. There's always ways around. You can research a little. You can hire out to a firm like ours or another agency that can help you. There's workshops. So it's always worth at least a look, rather than just blanket saying no and moving on with your day. So anyways, that's for what it's worth. That's my input on this Facebook scandal to date. I appreciate you checking it out and bearing with me as I check out this Wirecast. Hopefully, things will get better. This one I'm sure was a little rough, but we're working on it and we'll keep chugging along. Thanks, guys.